It's cool to see because back in the Dota 1 days, Vietnam actually was like one of the best countries in Dota 1.
Really?
They had one of Stars Boba was the name of one of the best Dota teams in the world, and they were from Vietnam.
Oh.
Then, but Dota 2 I think never really caught on and was never like the big game. You know, League of Legends kind of took over, so they never had much presence in Dota 2.
So the real OGs.
Well, 4 strength heroes for Neon right now. Although I don't think you could justify a Timbersaw necessarily, but
I saw a recent, I think it was a Knoxville stat because a team won with a 5 strength hero lineup.
really?
I think it was Mud Golems.
Oh, okay.
They had 5 strength heroes and they won, and there was like 35 games all time where a team had drafted 5 strength heroes.
I'm surprised it's that infrequent. I would
Yeah,
have imagined
me
that
too.
it happens. I guess there aren't very many strength supports, but now Snapfire, IO,
Clockwork.
yeah,
Yeah.
Undying, turning into supports. Yeah, I guess
It's
this.
kind of, you need all the strength supports. There's also not that many. Well, strength mids kind of come and go, but
Yeah.
usually you don't pick a strength mid with a strength carry, I would say.
That's true.
It's like you kind of get one or the other.
Yeah.
Truth.
And strength carries are kind of...
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
only 30-something drafts of ever 5 strength.
And
then
it was like a 50% win rate or something.
Huh.
roughly. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, so now they would need a strength carry.
Sven?
Sven? Yeah.
I will say, CK to me. Have you guys seen many CK matchups?
I'm lukewarm on CK. I think he
They
has
had
potential.
a CK in that 5-strength lineup. There was a CK, Lifestealer, and Timbersaw, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
Phoenix is one of the things. Phoenix CK. This was like the thing that Beast Coast was doing for a little bit that looked so unbelievably good. And I think they played it with IO too. That just ended up looking really, really neat. But I think here they've got to go for something else, right?
Man, IO CK. That's... What was the very first IO pairing? Was it Tiny? Tiny
Yeah.
IO was the first one. And then
TI2, yeah.
Yeah, and then CK IO became
Because
the
Tether's
new
down.
standard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Stone's
you
Reality
can pull
Rift.
them with the CK, yeah.
Yeah, and then IO just went on to tether everyone.
Think about how crazy that was. That when Tether moved through somebody, it stunned them.
Yeah.
And then you
the
could
hell?
cancel it and recast to stun them
Yep.
again.
10 seconds remaining.
All right, what do we got here? Last.
5 seconds remaining.
The Shadow Shaman's weird.
It is weird, I agree. Not a fan of this hero right now.
I mean, they do have pretty garbage ways to deal with the Serpent Wards. None of these heroes like right-clicking very much.
Yeah.
Slaughter doesn't want to be wasting right-clicks on that when he could be stunning people.
But
Lena last
are you
pick.
afraid of Serpent Wards?
If they push with it, because I also think the
Okay.
wave clear is atrocious on Neon.
That's very true. Yeah, it's more I'm thinking in a team fight, like you can just kind of
Yeah, in
ignore
a team fight,
Serpent
they'll
Wards.
just tank it. It's
Yeah,
four strength
exactly. Heroes
heroes.
like Slaughter, Sand are just like, they don't care about the Serpent
Yeah.
Wards. They're not posing a kill threat, but yeah, the push factor
The
is...
sieging, I think, is really strong right
Yeah.
now on 496.
But he's never gonna get to like level 6 wards is not bad to deal with in the mid game, and like I don't think he's gonna be in them. This is a 5 shaman, right?
Yeah, but I think 496 is just going to group up early, because Mars and Tiny can definitely frontline easily. Lena and Troll can just right-click from range if they need to. And once they group up, then Neon... They need to hope that they have a Blink Dagger online, otherwise they're not going to be able to start a fight from so many units away.
I feel like you don't like either team's draft.
I don't. But I can see a clearer strategy with 496, whereas for Neon it's just like, how do you kill us? That's how we win the game, because you can't kill us.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see them having a well-rounded draft because they're missing that big mid playmaker, those OD Death Prophet type heroes that are banned. It's going to look like a draft when they picked this last year.
Yeah.
I also don't know who they're sending mid. Like, who's the one position who's going to be the mid on Neon?
Well, that's what they're gonna do right now. They're gonna take. It's probably like Medusa or something, right?
Yeah, but like whoever goes into the other lane, I don't like any of them. I like Slardar
Yeah, it
is
sounds
the
like
only one.
Slaughter's safe lane, I guess.
Right.
I said I saw it. It was 3 months ago. They lost.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Io Sand doesn't sound like... Yeah, I feel like you want the Io... I guess Io Slaughter might play safe lane?
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
so.
It's definitely a little bit.
I think you just need to
Unconventional.
get someone who has wave clear.
Yeah.
Because none of these heroes, as soon as 496 converge on a tower, there's no way to peel them off.
But you're also like super immobile already on 496. Wow.
I mean, you know, I love that
Wow.
draft.
No,
From
play
a-
hard's
no.
the 4.
Oh. Core. Oh, it's Core IO.
scale.
Yeah,
It's Core IO.
we've seen some Core IO. Okay.
Okay.
This is kind of cool.
This is kind of cool.
I like it. It's something fun.
Can I pick neither team? Is that?
Well, what do you dislike about 496?
I think that they're a mixture of like fragile and also like sort of lacking team fight in a way. It's like they play pick-off oriented, it looks like, and then the only team fight that they really have is like Mars.
I don't know what a mid Sand King is supposed to do, though.
Yeah, well, I believe in Yopaj actually, so I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna believe in Neon. Yopaj to me is like one of the standout players.
All right. Well, we are going to toss to a quick break, but then we shall return with some fresh casters for you for game number 1 of this next series.
What's going on? Time has stopped. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're here for our first game between Neon and 496 in the lower bracket. It's MLP Dota and johnxfire. John, welcome, sir. How you doing?
I'm feeling great, Mike. It's great to finally be here at the playoffs. Second series of the night, Neon up against 496. Two teams, one of them's got to go home here. And it's a bit scary. Neon, it's the team that we've kind of pegged up there. They've been having a good time, right? BTS Pro Series Season 3, they look good. At previous tournaments as well was steady. 496 surprised us with their performances there as well. But now one of them's got to go home. They had middling group stage performances. And that's what you get. Southeast Asia right now, it's just way too volatile to have that kind of up and down performance here.
Can I talk to you for a second about these drafts, John? They're pretty all over the place. I mean, you talked about volatile, but why are we seeing a mid Sand King, a position 1 IO? What's going on here? What are they up to?
I wish I could explain this one away, Mike. I honestly couldn't tell you. At least on paper, a mid Sand King versus a mid Mars doesn't sound completely bad if you play with your Sandstorm. You're going to have to invest some detection there to keep eyes on that. I suppose you could play around like that, but there's a lot here they've got to do back and forth. As the panel mentioned, 496, they've got a bit more of a straightforward game plan. You've got Drew and his troll. You've got timings to meet that's not too awkward. You know what you want to hit. You know what items you want to farm up and what spikes you want to hit. Neon, it's a bit all over the place. Like, you and I were really surprised by the Rubik last pick. We thought it would be Yopaj Rubik, but it's play hard instead. So we'll have to see what Neon pulls out. They do have some really strong lanes. Like, you look up top, right? Slardar plus Rubik, lift into stun, level 2 spikes. That's pretty devastating for 496. Bombi's got to do some work here to zone out with that Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a pretty rough lane here for Bombi as he gets lifted once into the stun and he's borderline just going to die. Especially at that level 2, level 3 mark, it does get pretty tough for the poor Shaman. See what he can get done. Of course, over in the mid lane, you do see Yopaj and Hung up against each other. Yopaj on the mid Sand King. Actually, he's got a stun off Hung. He's going to eat a Fairy Fire, and the spear does come out just in time. Yopaj, well, both of them will survive just barely. But this mid matchup, I have no idea what to expect from.
I mean, at least on paper, we know it's a melee on melee. For the Sand King, that tends to be favorable. He's gone for level 2 Caustic. It's harder for Hunk to come out and zone out, and this doesn't cost Yopaj any mana. Like, he can save the Burrow Strike when his creep wave is huge, and force Hung in an awkward situation. And that's just going to be the name of the game here. Like, Hung is still going to be able to find farm, but he's not going to contest too well. And if the wave does not shove in, then he's not going to find too much. So we'll see if he can kind of recover that. You also have a farming advantage here for Yapaj, so he can dip into that jungle, maybe get a value point in the Sandstorm, kind of clear that out for himself if he does go off to a rough start down the line.
Absolutely. Of course, the one lane we never really talked about, that bot lane. We're having a look at it right now. Januel and Skem going to be up against Joe Cam and DatBB. And even though it's a POS 1 IO, you'd kind of have to make the argument they might just have the stronger lane here with that Undying. I mean, you talk about the sustain with that Undying IO combination. It is kind of broken with Tether and Soul Rip. Even though you have the Lina Tiny up against the Undying lane, it does look a bit too tough to contest.
It really is. Like, you just the interaction
As
between
I say that. Yeah, toss up, Skem, going to eat a Fairy Fire and will survive as Joe Cam. It's going to take a lot of damage out, but he'll also eat a Fairy Fire and be just fine. These are going to be very volatile side lanes, and even that mid lane, again, you have a look. Hung is trying to give it back to Yapaj in that Sand King, but it seems Yapaj already has the bottle up and has another Tango available, so he's got plenty of sustain for himself.
Yeah, it's just going to be hard to bully that Sand King out. He does still have that good regen naturally on his base. The thing about this IO lane as well, right? Undying plus I, we've seen this a couple of times in groups. It's just a tether regen you get with a Soul Rip. The burst heal is ridiculous, so they're always going to trade in a good spot, but this is the weakness of the lane. Once you run out of mana on that Undying, Johnnuel doesn't really have much to do. He's got one Decay cast left, and that's going to be it. And he's going to have to find a way to get a refill, either by sacrificing himself or ferrying out some regen.
It could be tough. See what they do get done. Looks like another stun's going to fly out, but Januel, he's going to be fine. He's a tanky Undying. At least for now, he'll be all right, but looks like that BB and Joe Cam will take over the lane for a bit. At the very least, Skem has still got a 16 and 8 in terms of last hits. Close back up towards that top lane, you'll see Play Hard. It's going to make the rotation for the 4-minute power rune. It's going to be quite important for both these heroes in the mid lane, as Yapaj does go for a quick burrow strike out. And it is bottom, so Yapaj gets pretty lucky there on the Sand King, does bottle up the haste rune. And I've got to admit, John, I'm not sure what to expect from a mid Sand King. Like, are we going to see early rotations from Yapaj? Does he farm for a while, maybe into that Blink Dagger? I'm just not sure what he's going to get up to as bot lane. Januel, it's going to get very low, but once again, just has the Soul Rip and is going to be fine, and even has a salve available just in case. But back to my initial point, does Yapaj rotate on this Sand King, or is he going to be sitting here farming for a while?
You don't have the value point in Sandstorm, so you do have the opportunity to just kind of run around, get an early epicenter. We don't tend to see a lot of Sand Kings invest in that, though. Like, normally if you're ahead, you just kind of do go farming. It really depends. I think in a game like this, where you're kind of taking it slow, you want to fight early. Like, Neon's lineup does get explosive fast. You want to maximize that power spike you get at 6, and maybe they'll find that opportunity soon.
He's making a rotation down to the bot lane onto Joe Cam, and Joe Cam should really have no way out of this. They do commit the burrow strike. First blood will go over to Skem, and while that was happening, Play Hard does end up dying to Bombi up at that top lane, trying to fight over those 5-minute bounty runes, but first blood gold does go to your position 1 IO. I imagine Neon Esports, they probably feel very happy about that.
Yeah, they're getting some gold out for Yapaj. They're getting some decent fights out early. The one hurting point here for Neon is that they've left Drew alone. Like, JG's falling behind in levels. We're not seeing the combination with Rubik because of how frequently Playhard's leaving this lane. So we're not seeing the lift plays into the double bash from the Slardar, and that's going to be a bit of an issue. Drew, on his free farm path, should be able to get a fairly quick Battle Fury if he wants to, and again, 496, they've got a much stronger hardcore, or a much more traditional hard carry in that sense, and his timings are going to be much more better defined compared to Neon. Neon, they have to win these lanes, and they have to figure out what itemization they want to go for. As you mentioned, like, even Yapaj on the Sand King, it could go any way. It could go Veil first, it could go Blink first, and that dictates how Neon wants to pace themselves here.
Absolutely. Of course, Drew up at that top lane on the Troll Warlord. He's been having a great old time. He's going to try and go into JG now, but won't be too much damage. He's been farming very well though. Mid lane, Hung is going to drop the arena onto Yopaj, and Yopaj is taking a fair bit of damage out here. He needs to try and run. With the bottle charges up, he might just make it out. In fact, a nice burrow strike down to the low ground. He'll be just fine. Hung still going for a chase, and that's a very nice spear out for Hung, just on the edge. He does give it to Yopaj on the way out. That's a very nice pick up there for our Mars.
Yeah, he manages to win out. No support rotation, surprisingly. Neon's the one team we tend to see commit those TPs down to save Yopaj every time. It doesn't fly out. They're focused much more on building up these stacks. That does cost them a bit. Right now, Neon, besides just leaving Drew alone to farm, I think this Rubik's going a bit too slowly. Like, Playhard again has had a bit of a slower game, although.
Oh, Januel gets very close to dying, but the Soul Rip gonna keep him up and sustained. They do drop the Tombstone, but a nice deny out from Januel and Skem. In fact, I believe it was Skem that got the last hit on that deny. That will mean no gold going to the way of Joe Cam. However, that BB was going back in for an avalanche toss onto Skem, but they have so much heal, they just can't kill him. And now Joe Cam's gonna be in trouble. He'll try to run, he'll be fine. But how do you kill this lane, John? There's just too much healing going on.
You just don't. You're going to need more numbers, and Hung is here now. That might fix it.
Well, he's going to go for a spear play, but it looks like they are going to have to settle onto Januel, who again does get the soul rip off. But Hung is going to be able to set up for the spear. Even top lane, Drew's going to be in trouble now with an epicenter coming out. He does get the battle trance off in time, and he'll make a chase onto JG, but it looks like his time is up. He is indeed going to die to the slaughter. That's a very important rotation out from Yopaj as Drew. He was farming a bit too well though. Bot lane now. The arena is going to be dropped onto Skem. He's trying to survive. Januel will not be there in time to get the soul rip off. That BB though getting low, but he does toss up Januel. But now Januel's in trouble. In fact, never mind, play hard. He's going to rotate in onto that BB, who's trying to make a run for it. Play hard. Does he have a fade bolt? It doesn't matter. Yopaj will get the burrow strike off, though top lane now, Bombi is going to get a shackles off on JG, be chased down. He is a pretty fast slaughter, though. And it looks like they are not going to be able to keep up. He will be just fine. And while we have a pause, John, I've got to give a quick shout out to the Observer. I was going to say this before the game started, but between 496 and Neon, it's going to be a hell of a time to try and keep up with the camera work with these two teams. So shout out to you, Mr. Earson Dota. If I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm pretty bad with pronunciation, but shout out to you, sir.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. We're already at 7 kills at 9 minutes in. Pretty quick-paced game. They took their time at the start, but both teams do have drafts that kind of explode. Real quick, I'd say Neon are the ones that are keen to jump the gun a bit faster. Looking at that, Yopaj, he's actually saving up for that blink mic, so it's going to be a quicker pace coming out from Neon. They're not focusing on, say, a Veil build-up here. They just want to go fast. They want to buy as much space as possible, try to get the snowball start going early on. And I like the build-up here from 496. Like we talked about, Drew may be going for a Battle Fear. He's going for the straight Yasha into BKB. So he just wants to be able to fight on this troll, understanding that Neon's probably not going to give him breathing room, and that's a perfect response. We've seen some teams try to play slow against Neon. Doesn't generally work. 496 are going to want to keep that pace up here.
That they will. So far, just holding that very slight net worth lead, and Hung right at the top of that net worth board on the Mars, doing some good work so far. Surprisingly enough, Hung's not going to go for that mobility build up into the blink. He is going straight right click with the Desolator, which I don't necessarily disagree with, because God's Rebuke is kind of broken with Deso, but you aren't going to have that mobility to really set up these big arenas later on, which could come back to haunt him. In top lane, there's going to be a big team fight, it looks like, as both teams are meeting up, but a nice hex out from Bombi, and now the arena, it's been dropped. It's Yopaj that's going to be in trouble, but the heals are coming in, and now Burrow Strike is going to be out from Yopaj onto Joe Cam. He'll try to run, they'll drop the Tombstone on the high ground, they do get one into Hung now, who's been left behind, and even Bombi on the river is going to get taken out by Play Hard. A very, very nice team fight out from Neon Esports. And 496, I mean, the initial arena was good, but you saw the sustain out from Sken and Januel. It was just way too much.
Yeah, it's really hard to pierce through that. Their only burst damage right now is Jokam. It doesn't even have level 6.
He's on to Drew now with the epicenter. Drew Might have to pop that battle trance, and he does. He'll go towards the neutrals now. Yopaj is sticking around in that sandstorm, but he won't have an opportunity to go back in. In fact, he will have to burrow strike out before that BB does catch him. Luckily for him as well, that BB, of course, doesn't have the blink up yet. He is fairly close, but is not quite there, so he will be just fine to run. They are going to go ahead and trade those tier 1 towers. Pretty standard stuff at that 10-minute siege creep mark. Nothing too special.
You're pretty happy on both sides. You've got Drew already on the opposite side of the map here, starting to build up his own farm. I think going back to our Mars build up here, Mike, Desolator, you saw their damage issues. Like, I don't think initiation's going to be the problem, because you're eventually going to have a blink up in your Tiny. That should be enough to set up. It's really just bursting these heroes down, and at least having the Deso gives you the opportunity to try and burst down Skem if you can catch him in the back.
Bot lane, play hard, has been caught out. Bombi just shackling him up, play hard. Actually going to be able to get a toss off and survive. Bombi still trying to chase, but the stun is going to be there in time. And oh, Bombi, he's not going to be happy about that one. Now Yopaj, Burrow Strike is there. The Avalanche won't be out in time, and JG able to get a double kill for himself. That's going to make it an 8-4 now, but Neon, they're really starting to come online with this draft, and I gotta tell you, John, they are looking very dangerous.
They really are. They haven't even hit, some of their major spikes. There's still a lot of room for Skem to grow. He does have his Dominator and farming it. He is alone, though.
Oh, Arena top lane. Not going to catch Skem. At least the Dominated creep is going to die, so Hung does get plus 200. But they definitely wanted to kill off that Pos 1 IO. The Skem is slowly but surely going to start making his way onto the Aghanim Scepter. In fact, no, never mind. He's going for a Heaven's Halberd. All right. It's a very different kind of build-up for a Pos 1 IO.
Yeah, but I think this is fine. Like, you talk about it as well when we see the IO, right? There's the big spikes level 20 for the talents. So delaying the Ags, not the biggest thing, I think, right now. You're playing mainly around JG. You're playing mainly around Yopaj. It's about the Sand King. It's about the Slardar jumping in and getting those stuns off. The disarm's just going to make it hellish for Drew to stand and fight. He is, at the point where he's a lot of right-click damage. That's going to be the case for pretty much the entire time. And an early disarm is just going to make it hellish. And it also makes it harder for Skem to die. Right? The mobility, the evasion would be good, but looks like Skem changes his mind again. Just a bit indecisive. He's keeping the Ags in, but looks like he might be thinking about that first Titan pickup just a bit.
Like every good position 1, John, you never go for those smaller items. You go full greed, right? You just. Oh, yeah. This is SCA, John. We don't need to use our brains. We just get. Oh no, he switched again. Never mind. Skem actually has a brain. I guess it's lucky I'm not doing the pause one here for Neon. Meanwhile, bot lane, a big smoke up here from Playhard and Yopaj, and they're looking to try and invade the Dire Triangle. It's a bit of a tough one to invade, though. They don't really have any vision up there. They're going to walk around through the right side. Smoke broken, blink forward, but Drew looks to be just fine. Yopaj does end up blinking backwards, and in the end does not want to commit. So maybe they just go mid instead and try to set up for the tier 1 mid tower. So it does look like Neon are the stronger team at this point in time in this game. I'd say they definitely want to apply as much pressure as possible before this Drew troll gets a bit out of control.
Yeah,
like speaking of, John, Playhard's chasing him. Yeah, JG. Catch up. Yopaj gets the Burrow Strike into the follow-up stun. Bombi tried for the shackles. They're going to go for the arena instead. On to Skem, but he's already relocated out. He got them out of there. Yopaj, he's been left behind, but he does have a burrow into the tree line. He does have a TP, but they are pinging him out. He does blink now to the south. Still has that epicenter up, and his team is slowly going to be coming back with their relocate, I believe. Unless they... No, they relocated out. Never mind. They're just fine. Everyone's safe from Neon. Januel, he's in the tree line waiting. He'll show to Jokam now and pops the Flesh Golem, even the Tombstone. Jokam just going to keep going as that BB now jumps in for an Avalanche toss, but the Laguna not going to be enough. The Soul Ripple's there in time. Now Yopaj, he gets an epicenter off onto that BB. Your core Tiny is not looking very healthy right now. He does die, and towards the north, Bombi actually has the shackles onto JG, but Jokam is also going to be in danger down to the south. They have caught him out. He will go down. So Jokam dies. JG dies to Drew on the troll, but overall a 2-for-1 trade. I'd say you're still pretty happy if you are Neon Esports.
You definitely are. You're finding the early kills, you're getting the EXP up. The only pain point here for Neon is really the fact that they're not farming well, but if they keep these fights up, that's not an issue.
Oh, onto another Bombi. Gonna get caught out like that, and it's the thing about a Shadow Shaman pickup, Johnny. You are very susceptible to dying if you get stunned once. He's only got 900 HP, and as you can see, the net worth and XP graph all going towards the way of Neon.
Yeah, they're just having a spectacular time getting that initial fights out. John Uwalt's had enormous impact, and they're relocating in.
Well, they are going bot lane. It looks like they're trying onto Drew, but he will use the Whirling Axes, still Yopaj. Burrow Strike is nice. Drew, he does have the Battle Trance and does pop it in time. Onto Yopaj. They have protection this time around with an Avalanche toss out. They get the kill and Schem. He could not relocate Yopaj in time to get him out. And it's going to be a nice pick-off now for 496. And at the same time, they've got the Desolator available on Hung now. So his God's Rebuke is going to hurt a lot more on that Mars.
Yeah, that just makes it easier to rip through. They are starting to find some of their damage issues corrected, and
the toss spear out. We've seen that one before, John. Genuel, he will try to survive at Hung. We'll just God's Rebuke him to death. Very nice little spear there, though. Play hard, meanwhile, killing off Joe Cam on the Lena, so they do trade supports in the end. Not too big of a deal for either team.
yeah, 496 is still going to be happy about finding Yopaj, so dropping your Sand King. He was your highest net worth hero. You don't want to do that too often. You've got to be a bit cautious, although...
Yeah, they've caught Bombi up. Down in that Radiant jungle, and he does end up going down. JG, able to take that kill. That's just the thing. You don't really need to slow down at all if you're this Radiant side with this kind of draft, where for 496, they understand they need a lot more time for this troll to be a lot stronger, and he is going for the right itemization, mind you, as well. He is going straight for the BKB. Against all these stuns from Neon, you definitely want that BKB as early as possible.
Yeah, and it's also the initial damage coming out from Neon. They're relying a lot on the Epicenter stun, the Caustic Finale, the Sandstorm catching them out to burn them down slowly. So once you have this BKB on the troll, you're just free to stand and fight. You might not have too much damage, but that's where the Desolator on Hung starts to come in. He's going to start to soften them up for you to really tear through. And Neon, it's still lining up, right? Like, we're still waiting for the Halberd here on Schem. It's almost up, but not quite. You're seeing Yopaj as well opt for his early BKB. Once you've got that, the Sand King is free to really maximize the Sandstorm in the front. Free to kind of try to control the front as well. JG has still been holding out. He's queued up both his Ags and Blink, and I think he's just kind of trying to see what he'll need as the game goes on. Does have the goal, though, to at least buy out Blink, so he's going to have to make a choice soon. You would want your Slaughter off to a bit of a running start. Once you have this Ags, you are going to sprint around really quick with your IO, but 496 doesn't seem to want to wait for that. They are smoked up.
That they are, but can they fight? This mid T1 tower, it is slowly dropping, so they have very good vision over Neon Esports at the moment. This might be their best opportunity to get in and try and fight. Problem is JG's the only one showing at that tier 1, but now Schem does pop up as well, and Hung wants a pretty big arena here. They toss him in, straight onto JG. With the spear out, they do lock down the Slana, but Yopaj in with the epicenter and the burrow. Joe Cam's about to drop. Looks like he just made Yopaj. He will survive through the Laguna onto Hung, who will also die in JG. He's been battle tranced by Drew. Does get ensnared and does go down. A 1-for-3 buyback committed by Hung. They're going to go back in now. A great double stun out with a double LSA out from Play Hard into the decays. Januel just stealing the strength away, and Hung, he just died back. They'll get Play Hard, but at what cost?
Oh, God.
Schem will take a double. That's only going to help him get his Aghanims that much faster. They relocate out. They want more. After Drew, but he will be out of range. That's going to make it a 19-10, and I believe for the first time this game, we have a net worth lead over 1K. 2K now for Neon Esports.
Swings big. It's not done yet. They just keep going.
This is 496 versus Neon for you. Hex out from Bombi to try and slow down the Slider with a nice LSA out from Jocam. Skem, though, just does not care. He'll just keep rushing forward. Bombi,
Oh my God.
he's just going to die to the IO. Without the Aghanim
Imp-Claw.
Scepter up. Yeah, the Imp-Claw on Skem. What did they rated on the tier list, John, the panel?
C? Was it C?
Oh,
I think it was C,
never
right?
mind. They put my
C or B?
they put
C or B?
they put my arcane ring at like D or something, John. I won't forgive them for that.
I'm gonna have to have a chat with him, but still, Mike widens out to 3K now. Neon looking to really start to take control. They're hitting their big talent spikes and big item spikes as well. I want to point out, Play Hard, in that first engagement, Mike, he lived with like 25 HP. He just backed off. He got to cast those LSAs because of it, and you have to be able to find these squishier targets if you're 496. They jump in, they get a big arena. That's great. They try to isolate the IO, but if you don't kill off heroes like the Rubik, I mean, they get so much value when they get that additional control and Play Hard. We've seen this throughout different tournaments for Neon. He is really one of your key playmakers. He just sets up for the team, and his Rubik in this game is just putting on quite the performance.
Love me a Play Hard Rubik. Still, we gotta look over to 496 and see what's going on their side of things. I mean, Drew's got the BKB up, and he is still top of the net worth board. So things are looking up here for 496, but I don't know. I get worried with these position 1 IOs. It just feels like once you have the Axe plus the level 20 talent, it just seems so impossible to fight against it. And it's getting close to that point, John. Sken is about to hit level 16. He has the Ags up, I believe, and yeah, there it is.
Oh boy.
So now you've just got unlimited spirits just flying around you constantly. And once that level 20 talent's up, even with these BKBs, I just don't know how they're going to fight into it.
No, it's going to be difficult. I'd say you tend to want to see maybe something like a pipe. You just don't have a natural aura carrier here for 496. That's going to be an issue they'll have to solve somehow. You also have the Ags up on JG, and that's going to be able to Roche. They've got the Corrosive Haze. They can melt right through. 496 are smoked up, though. They could fight this.
Yeah, it's a nice smoke here from 496. They're going to try and make sure this Roshan does not go down for free. And in all fairness, Neon have back-to-back. They're going to go in, but JG doesn't get the Blinks to Yopaj. Does get the double Burrow Strike off, aiming straight for that BB. They'll get the Tiny into the Shaman, and Bombi will drop. Hung trying to run, but there's the relocate. He'll drop the arena. He does get a nice spear off, but is it going to matter? There is just way too much sustain, and Yopaj will pick up a double kill on the Sand King. Neon, they're making this game look easy now. Back into the Roshan. We've got to look to Drew to see what he's up to on this troll, but he's just trying to work towards the MKB, John. He's going to be a while off being at that point where he feels comfortable to try and fight with his team. And Neon, they're getting a free Roshan.
Yeah, you just can't stop it anymore after that one. 496, their game plan's a bit clear though. If they can stall out, they can maybe get a good bounce back in. But we're talking about a 5k lead now for Neon. We're talking about the Aegis coming through. Skem has 2 lives. You couldn't handle him at 1. Now you've got to try to dig through that IO twice and kind of throw everything, including the kitchen sink out there to just kill him off. Neon, it's just a bit much. Like the timing of the IO Ags plus the Slardar Ags, the sustain they're getting out, the crush, the damage coming through, it's just all too much. And now Bombi as well.
Bombi, yeah. It's your classic Shaman game, John. It's your classic Shadow Shaman game. It's, you hate picking this hero, just feels like you die all the time. There's no way around it. Still JG, gonna go for more now. Burrow Strike out from Yopaj underneath the tier 2 towers. This is dangerous, but Skem TP's in with the relocate. Yopaj, he's going to pop his BKB, and now the arena is dropped onto JG with the spear, but it's just not going to be enough. Hung needs to run. JG is hitting way too hard. Januar going to come in for a soul rip just to make sure JG's healthy. Yopaj, he epicenters just for good measure, just to make sure he's dead. There will be no grave for Hung. So Yopaj destroys the earth beneath him, and well, they even take all the bounty runes off the map. And Drew, he has to be careful, John. He's running straight into Januar right now. With that BB, they do kill off the Undying. Looks like Yopaj does not want to try and fight into that. And why would he anyway? Neon, they're just happily taking a mid-tier 2 tower. They don't mind their Undying dying.
No, It's a perfectly fine trade. You get a bigger objective. That top jungle now is not very safe for 496. They still have access with their tier 2 top, but that's not going to be super safe. They need to play at the bot lane now. Play in that bot jungle. They've got the wards there. We haven't seen Neon really invest in this area, but they haven't really played here as well. So I don't think Neon minds that too much. The disarm there as well from that last fight, but Drew cannot handle it. He got disarmed in the arena, that forced him out of it, and just had to leave Hunk for dead. The timing of the items here on Neon causing so many issues for 496. They still need to get the farm. Look, I mean, we've talked about the MKB for Drew. He's just going straight into the Satanic. That's going to give him some good stat resist there as well to kind of help him through that control. But it needs to come out fast, and it just feels a bit too slow.
Oh, that BB. Yeah, that is not the position, sir. I'm looking for a ward he was placing. He wasn't placing any such thing. In fact, Joe Cam now also going to get caught out. Scam will take that kill for himself. You've just got to be very careful about your positioning if you're 496 in this game, number one. It just feels like they are playing way too far forward, considering their current circumstances. They can't survive if they get stunned once.
No, it's really easy for Neon to kind of burst you down. And, you know, quite frankly, Mike, this draft from Neon is probably one of the most perfect core IO games we've seen, at least here in C, for the Monster Energy Summit 13, right? Like, it's a perfect game for Scam. He's 5-1-11. He got his Ags really early on. He got his Halberd up at a really timely point. And then he's going to get BKB as well. And he's about to hit its level 20 talent. So if you thought he was doing good damage already, it's just gonna get a little bit more ridiculous with plus 60 spirits of pure damage. It's just too much for 496 right now. I think 496 need to find a way to split up Neon, but every time they do that, they have to be ready for relocate plays. It just makes it so hard for 496 to kind of play that hit and run style here when you're behind. Their best target's more than likely just trying to lock down Playhard. He's the squishiest. But Playhard's been super disciplined. The only hero they can really find is John Uel, and an Undying with, you know, with the Vlad's up already, with his Tranks done, and kind of saving into his Glimmer Cape. I think even if you hunt that Undying, it's not a big issue.
Apparently Bombi just dies to Scam there, down the bot lane and mid lane. Epicenter out from Yopaj onto Hung. He's going to drop the arena. He's still in that sandstorm taking damage. He'll try to run out of there. It looks like he's going to be alright. It's now that BB jumps in for a nice avalanche toss.
What?
Laguna just not going to be enough damage, but they get the final right click off in time. That is a tanky boy, but they do at least kill off Yopaj. Meanwhile, looks like Hung has actually had an arena dropped on himself, and yeah, everything's just looking fine here.
It's really smooth. Neon, now the one time 496 does make it work in that last fight is because they're aware of Scam, of where Scam is. They know he didn't have relocate then. They managed to find that isolation. Neon needs to play with their IO, kind of be a bit more disciplined. One slip up like that isn't too bad. But if you start bleeding these kills away, they could make something happen with the smoke.
It's a big smoke up. That BB spotted though, the tombstone. Great placement from Januel, just catching everyone. He drops a Serpent Wards on top of the high ground Bombi. He's trying to take out the tombstone. He does get it, but at what cost? It just looks like they are just too far gone. Drew at least killing off one. He does kill off Januel, but that is just the Undying. He's onto JG now, but he is getting bashed and stunned constantly. Still going, but here comes Yopaj. He drops the arena. He's trying to fight back.
No.
But they just can't. They just can't kill Scam. An ultra kill out for our IO. Oh, and it's going to be a 14k net worth lead now. A full team wipe out for Neon. I am loving what I'm seeing here from game one.
It's just perfection. They're just playing around their cores perfectly. They're getting their spacing right. The tombstone of John Uel to always force these Serpent Wards elsewhere. It's just insane. Like 496 do not have cores that can turn around there. They don't want Drew focusing on it. They have to get the damage out. And it's splitting up these fights. You're basically fighting the heroes and the tombstone.
Nice toss into the tier 4 towers. It is going to be onto JG, but he's a pretty tanky target. They'll drop the Laguna, but Yopaj just jumps in for the epicenter. He'll get two of them straight off the bat. JG's killed the other. Poor old Bombi just going to go down to the slaughter. And was that a Heart of Tarask I saw on Scam?
Oh, yes. It's flying out, Mike. Yeah, if you had issues killing him, I mean, I don't know what you do now. Like, he's got all this strength. He's got passive regen as well if he gets it off to keep JG up. They're just going to lose these racks. Now, it's only one set. They've still got tier 2s on the sides. So 496 isn't out of it yet, but they're 20k behind now.
They're going to try. Arena has been dropped. They're going to try and fight back here underneath the tier 4s, but even underneath those tier 4s, it's not looking great, but they do get scammed. Drew with the battle trance does kill one. Now a nice shackles, but Yopaj again with the double burrow strike out into Bombi. He's dropping low, but Drew wants to keep trying to fight back. Bombi about to drop and does finally go down, and now another double burrow strike. Yopaj, he just can't miss. And they get scam, which is really good, but apart from that, they don't get anyone else. They're still dropping like flies. And Yopaj, he's hunting for that BB. Hung's gonna buy back. But is he gonna be able to get anything out of this buyback? Probably not.
No, it's too late. They retreat already. Neon found the objectives. They maybe overstayed their welcome a bit playing around there, but overall they're gonna be happy. 23k lead, 40 to 15, 30 minutes in. And that's 55 kills at 30 minutes in. It's it's classic Southeast Asia. Bash your head against a wall, run him down. Neon, they've really got control in this game. They're a mile ahead. 496 still need a couple more items here on Drew to really get him online. Even that BB is kind of tapered off as the Tiny. In fact, tapered off is pretty kind. He's behind John Uelton dying. He is just so poor as this pos 3 Tiny, and when you've got a core shut down that hard, it makes that BB's job that much harder. Like, he's got Blink Echo Saber, but there's not much more you can expect. They need to start finding a way to pierce through the backline, and I mean, the Desolator timing was really good for Hung, but it hasn't paid off in a big way just yet. So 496 have got to solve their issues, and I don't see any answer coming anytime soon.
Lane, they're looking at Hung. Oh, Burrow Strike is out from Yopaj. He's going to go straight onto that BB, but they do drop the Arena onto Play Hard. Problem is, you've already lost the Tiny. That BB is gone. Play Hard might die, but he keeps up and he's surviving for now. They heal him up again. Now the Burrow Epi is just out. This game is looking to be very, very over. There is no buybacks left on the side of 496. And there you go. They call it GG. Neon Esports. Game 1 will go in a very convincing fashion their way. Of course, this is a best of 3 lower bracket round of 1, so you aren't out of it yet if you're 496, but you almost certainly need to win the next game if you do plan to go on in this lower bracket.
Yeah, I mean, Neon just played it perfectly. Again, both teams have had an up and down here in the groups. They've been sort of struggling a bit. Neon a bit more, but 496, of course, they've had players stand in.
Yeah.
Neon just played perfect. You know, the core IO we've been doubting in groups because it's been rocky, but Scam shows us why it's so potent with that Slardar. They hit their timings right, and 496, they're a good team, but they've got to step up to their A game, kind of try to work out those kinks in this lineup, because if you let Neon play like this, I don't know about that game too, Mike.
I do agree with you, John. Now, of course, for anyone watching, you can vote for your MVP of this series, and after game 1, you might have already decided. You do go to bts.gg/monstermvp. That is bts.gg/monstermvp, just so I don't twist my words that time around. It's MLP johnxfire. We're going to head off to a short break, and we'll be back with the panel to see what they have to say about game number 2 draft.